Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Guide for an African Gen Z with me, your boy Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve. I'm trying new names every day. So I feel like everybody should just comment on the name they want. So today I'm Uncle
That means
Steve.
in Chichewa it would be Malume Steve.
Yeah, now that's Njomba Steve.
Uncle Steve.
Now, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. So you know what? Something that I've actually learned from some of the lessons I've had.
Yeah.
Maga nowhere. Tindi use always usually muntagarifu story muri bwanji. Timanyaka.
Basi ndikaja tundu wangu tero, even though you know you're not fine, basi mangu yankabia. So ndidi bo.
Okay, so let's try that again. How are you?
I'm alright, man.
You alright?
Even though I'm broke.
You're broke? Precisely what I was actually thinking about.
Even kuchipatala mukapita, a doctor amamba kufusa muli bwanji tema yankauta ndili bwino. Chuvura ndi chani, and then you start explaining.
Whoa.
It's funny,
Whoa.
but maybe we do that
subconsciously.
Yeah. So.
but you know, like, isn't that lying though?
That I'm fine, and then you start explaining that you're not fine.
Yeah, because by the end of the day, it's like you lie to yourself that you're fine when you're not.
It's a contradiction, of course.
Yes.
It's just a contradiction. Tinangozora zoti muntu akapa salmoni imani adu mulipo. That is also.
No, but then
you might have a problem. Steve, mulwanji. It's rare unganene zoti sindiri bwino. It's very rare, but most they antutangozora ndilipo.
That's deep.
We are addicted to that kind of culture.
We're addicted to lying. No, but I feel like it's a bad thing because I think from the episodes that we've talked about, even things of suicide, some of the ways that someone can actually prevent suicide or to mitigate the issues of depression is by talking about it. Yeah. So now, if we are always creating that leg of saying I'm okay, you know, how does someone help you, or how do you get help? Because you're not being honest with yourself also.
Probably sometimes people say I'm fine just to hide the innermost thing, you know. Maybe they don't want to share really until you ask them kweni uncle, you know, mwana simuli bwino. Ine Uncle Steve nduguzwa ni kwambira gali. So ndimata kuona uri Uncle Steve anduzo dali boko malero.
Chizili.
Akone uri sali bwino. Pamene rumaba kondolera Uncle Steve. Mwone uri simuli bwino. What's troubling you? That's when you open up, right? Komano, I think, and we just have that mentality. The moment you have something muri bwanji, mwankeo jani, ndili bwino. So
deep. There was this YouTube page that I was watching. I think it was a TED Talk.
Yeah.
So this lady was talking about, she was talking about how you've heard of placebo medicine.
Placebo medicine.
Something like that. Placebo. I'll check out the pronunciation, but the idea is placebo, something like that. But the idea is they took a group of people. I may butcher this, but the general idea was that they took a bunch of people who were sick. I think they had cancer.
Okay.
And then they took them and then they told them that we're getting you guys on a trial drug, right? And then we will give you this drug for a period of this days. Yeah. And then we'll see how you guys are doing. Yeah. From the results, they found that people were actually getting better. Like if you had a tumor, the tumor was getting smaller, right? There was no chemo, no nothing, no other medication, just that medicine. Yeah. Guess what? At the end, the medicine was no medicine. It was just candy. It was just a sweet. It was not medicine. So the basic idea was that there's so much power in the mind. Yeah. And whenever we are doing something that is contrary to our core, like something that is not truly who we are. Yeah. I feel like who we are is also a very deep conversation in its own, but it's against who you believe you are. Yeah. Right? Like you're doing something that you know that this is not who I am. Yeah. It starts to eat you up on the inside. It's like there's a crush. Yeah. Right? So from the same narrative, I think this lady also talked about lying, that whenever you lie, because your mind is like, no, that's not true. Yeah. It actually creates a bit of disruption in your brain to say, we're lying. So should we assume that Malawians are depressed because we're always lying about Mulbanji? I mean, imagine how many times you lie, bro.
Well, it's not that all the time we lie when we say, most of the times we are really okay. But then if we are to take it from the perspective, tili mavuto all the time. They were never fine, pretty much from the beginning. Since the day we were born, they were never fine. Because if we had to consider all the problems, could you consider problem we need we can never be fine. Monga Lolo, you look so energetic, you're okay, all right? As in goody, you don't consider goody financially, we know Sudan or Johnson. But then could take all indica voodoo again, but then we're gonna go. Can you consider that to be an issue? Good impact and you're not okay.
Okay, now then that raises a different story altogether.
Yeah.
Because now for me, I feel like there is a sense of awareness of I have a problem, I have problems, but they're not big enough to make me not happy.
Yeah.
Which brings
so the magnitude itself matters.
Yes. So brings in the element of gratitude to say, I may have problems, but I am alive, for example. So from that example, it means that if I'm answering your question, Ndianka, from that place of gratitude to say, I may have problems, but I am truly okay.
Yeah.
Rather than someone who actually has problems that are overwhelming, and in truth, maybe they're not even considering gratitude, right? And I'm okay. In that regard, for me, from the research that I've done, you're actually killing yourself on the inside because your system knows that you're lying. Yeah. So I feel like that is where I would actually come contrary to you to say the element of gratitude is very important. We have to say thank you to God, to whoever you believe in, to say thank you for keeping me alive today because someone died 2 minutes ago, 2 seconds ago.
And that's the more reason why just go and check Ukukwinzi and see the situation, many and reality. You see, trying to show Kuti in the Mavudo. Komano, if you are to compare the Mavudo you'll be like, oh. I'll give you an example. Now we are COVID. Panas did a trending video ka SNS celebrity in the US. A lockdown ya jajani. Antoina madanda lokuti lockdown ya tizi jajani. Tima banga tima dada business. So what will happen to us? How are we going to survive jima lockdown? Wamene celebrity na America madanda ula. Kuti taiza mbira zangu kaudende udango sambira mu swimming pool yake chani so it was like people were like really
man.
We are kulona kuti ndivuto kuti azingokhala nyumba and then azingokhala mu swimming pool.
My man, swimming, living luxury is very stressful. It cannot just be
you have food, you have everything.
It's stressful.
If you have to compare ni muntu amene atamange business kuti aveze chakudya. I mean, that's not a problem.
I understand. So I'm on your side. I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I get what you mean. Actually, there was a thought that ran through my mind a few months ago. Whenever I'm going to work, it's a discussion I think that we also need to have.
Yeah.
But bottom line is I meet people who are either begging or they're disabled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And actually I don't think I've ever talked about this on this podcast. But there was a day whereby I went to Ekaya.
Yeah.
I was getting food by Ekaya.
Yeah.
And I went to the tap. They've got this buckets. Like they became popular during COVID.
Yeah.
So there's this bucket that's got a little top. You open it and you wash your hands and then you close the tap and you go on.
Yeah.
So this guy came through after me, and I realized after I just left that he had one hand. So it meant that he had to open the tap with his one hand because his other hand was amputated.
Yeah.
And then he washed his hand and then had to turn it back on.
Again, yeah.
And then it got me with intrigue because in that moment I was thankful for having two hands.
Yeah.
So it brought up an element of gratitude.
Yeah.
But also I also realized that there's a bit of, for lack of a better word, a bit of privilege.
Yeah.
To be where we are. And I think I'm echoing to what you said, that most of the times we worry about small things.
Yeah.
But we forget that the basic idea of life is being alive.
Yeah.
Like when you're alive, you can do anything. Like if you're alive, you can, even if you don't have money now, but as long as you're alive, you can change your destiny today if you want to.
Exactly.
But someone who is in the hospital,
Yeah.
Man, they have no choice but to just want to be okay. You know,
like Afeni Shakur once said, Tupac's mother once said, and I quote.
Damn, the way you mentioned him as if you guys are friends.
Maybe we were.
What's his name again?
Afeni Shakur. Actually, her real name was Alice Faye Williams.
Damn,
but then she called herself Afeni Shakur.
Oh.
She once said, and I quote.
And I quote.
Oh yeah.
I quote.
Always remember to keep yourselves alive. There's nothing more important than that.
Yeah.
You know, because we've have a lot of problems, but then as long as we're alive, we can overcome those problems. And as you're putting it, you can define your destiny as long as you're alive.
You're alive.
So
I also quote, and I quote.
No.
I'm quoting Jim Rohn, but I'll butcher mine. It's gonna be a paraphrase. He said that there was only one thing that a sick man wants, which is to be healthy.
Yeah.
So no matter how rich you are, no matter how much wealth you have, but when you get to that sick bed, the only thing you want is to be alive.
Yeah.
And it told me that life is the most important thing. And most of the times I think we butcher our health, assuming that we will have it again. But this is one thing that is always fleeting, and you cannot buy health.
Yeah.
No matter how hard we try, all these experiments we're trying out there, but it's proving time and time again that our health and life is a very precious thing, and it's easily slipping away if we don't take care of it. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. It makes sense. It makes sense because sometimes we take things for granted, you know, and it's really important that we should be alive in order for us to do anything.
Yeah.
In order for us to achieve anything.
Yeah. Gotta keep our health straight.
Exactly.
Huh. Exactly. Have you ever been addicted
to anything or to something?
To anything.
Yeah, I have.
Can you say it on camera? Like,
yeah, I can.
What was it?
Video games. When I was young.
I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a website.
No. Nah, video games, man.
Boring.
I was addicted to PlayStation.
Ooh.
And I reached the point where I could literally play overnight.
Yeah.
Sleep during day. And when I wake up, back on game again.
Yeah.
So it was really fun by then. But then after some time, I developed some problems.
What happened?
My sleeping pattern changed.
Yeah.
Up to now, I don't sleep anytime before midnight.
Yeah, same here.
So it's like
it's crazy.
It started way back.
So well, another quote. I haven't really verified this. But there was a research that has been done.
Yeah.
I feel like right now, this generation, we've got so much information. I hope it's all true. But everybody's doing a research, checking everything to check what is the impact of this and that. And I feel like there is an information overload whereby it's creating a havoc in the sense that it's very hard to create and define your own life. Because you find that another research says that it's okay to sleep after 12 midnight. And another research is like you have to be asleep by 7. And, But anyways, this researcher, well, they did a very conclusive research apparently.
Yeah.
But you can check it out. I'm not preaching the gospel here. They said that for every person who is not asleep, if you don't sleep before 10 o'clock, ideally, you're more likely to have cancer. Because essentially your body, our bodies don't, the rhythm that we're supposed to have, we're supposed to be sleeping by the time that it gets dark. By the time that the sun comes out, we're supposed to be awake. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how our brain is designed to work, right?
Yeah.
But then we sort of like low key are trying to force the brain to adapt to new ways of working. So because of that, because like I feel like this is something I quote a lot is that we're part of nature. We're part of nature, and how nature has been created, it's not by us.
Yeah.
We evolve, of course, but then we do not understand the ramifications of the things we're changing now.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes we evolve we have bigger feet because of where we're staying in the terrain and whatnot. That could be part of evolution.
Yeah.
But the brain is one of the spheres of our bodies that does not really evolve as we think it does. It stays almost the same.
Yeah.
So basically the idea was, Guji, if you do not sleep before 10, there's a high likelihood that you will develop cancer because your body is not is not adjusting itself to the system, to the rhythm of the universe.
So by 9:30 I have to be sleeping.
Boss, out.
Well, I mean, it's just like the world works in a funny way, you know, because when we say who said that by noon we have to have lunch?
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's like we have been programmed to be doing things in a certain way. It's not like, what I'm trying to say is, in the morning, you have to eat breakfast. Do you have the actual time you're supposed to eat breakfast?
So, well,
at 12, we're supposed to eat lunch. And then, what time do we normally eat supper?
It's usually, like for me, it's usually very late, like it's around 9. And yeah.
So the point is, maybe according to that research, by 10 at least you have to sleep, so that maybe you have to rest, and then you have to wake up before the sun rises and so on. People work according to the time they feel comfortable.
Okay.
I'm a night person. I work a lot at night.
I see that.
Because that's how the environment I am in, it becomes conducive at night.
Oh, you already said you're addicted because you created an addiction when you were a child.
So I just continued with it.
Yeah.
Like, moreover, I have a daughter.
Yeah.
I wait for her to sleep so that I should work properly. It's not that I can't work with her around, but then to avoid disturbances. And if I really have serious work, I usually work at night. It's better I should work from 9 to 5 a.m. and then I should go to sleep. At least I should make sure that the work is finished.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. That so for example, they were giving an example about blue light, right?
Yeah.
That you shouldn't be looking at your phone at night because the blue light actually affects your brain. So ideally, basically, when the brain sees darkness, for it, it's time to shut down. And some of the body repairs that happen, they happen at night when it sees darkness. That's when your body will start to actually repair its cells and whatnot. Those things are happening at night. So it means that when you disturb that rhythm, your body is like, what time are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And that usually that happens when you get into deep sleep. That's when you're able to actually start to create all those processes whereby some cells will start to die. Your body is creating new cells and stuff like that. But I think there's more information. But by the end of the day, it indicated that the less you sleep, because your brain is looking at darkness, right, and saying, I expect when it's dark, this person is asleep. So essentially, as much as, yes, I understand it's your system, but I think it could also be hurting us. I'm a night walker as well.
I know. I can call Steve at 1 a.m. when you pick up
I wake up. So I think maybe it's a space that we really need to dabble in. We do not understand the implications, but from my understanding, we need to respect nature because we do not control this brain.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
Ever heard about neural pathways?
Obviously, neuro, it means something.
It's a brain.
The brain.
Yeah, man.
So it's about how the brain works.
Yeah.
You know, the chemistry of the brain itself.
So basically, neural pathways, like you're actually very right. So basically, the idea about neural pathways is that the brain is like a computer.
Yeah.
Basically, it is
programmed.
It's programmed.
Yeah.
So it learns over time, and then it starts to create patterns of behavior to say, okay, this is how I do these things. This is how this tastes. It starts to identify, this is how this thing, it's like a computer. It's like you're teaching AI. And literally, I think to a degree, when you think about it, AI is like a baby. Like they teach it. When you feel this, like when it feels like this, when it looks like this, it's this, right? So now, what it meant was from the research I've had, and I quote, it said that, like, for instance, when you eat nsima for the first time, a neural pathway is created in your brain, right? To say this is nsima. Like it
is registering it.
It literally creates a line to say this is nsima, right? So the more you eat nsima, right? There'll be like that neural pathway. There'll be like a rewrite. Like be a stack of neural pathways that will be created, right? And that's why that quote that says that for you to master a discipline, you need to have 10,000 hours in it. It's because the more you do it, the more the neural pathways will actually be created.
It's like the register is still...
The stack is going to become thicker, right? So that means this also borderlines between good things and bad things. So the reason why this came up to my mind was there was a story about a guy, a Nigerian guy who got arrested in the country.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
What happened?
He got arrested. The first time he got arrested, he was caught with cocaine.
Okay.
In our language, Spanish, we call it cocaína. So yeah, they
arrested. You looked at the camera, cocaína.
So yeah, he had cocaine, and then he was caught again. Apparently,
he was actually deported. He was deported the first time, and then
he came back, and then he was caught again with cocaine again. So, this issue got my attention because where I saw that post, that story, people were discussing the punishment itself. We'll come back to the other part, but then the punishment itself. People are like, in other countries, people are killed. People are given
Malawians
10
killed,
to 14 years or more, depending on the amount of the cocaine. But then here, the guy has been given 1.5 years, and then he should be deported. But then he was deported the first time when he came back, and But then cocaine, a lot of people are addicted to drugs. Globally. And cocaine is one of the drugs that is very common and is used a lot out there, especially in America and South America. Countries like Colombia, there is Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Argentina, Cuba, all those countries. And there are some drug cartels. There are rich people there, doing, they're growing the, processing the cocaine and so on. It's really something that it is a big problem globally. That's what, and it is a big problem because it is produced massively in large amounts because they know a lot of people are addicted to drugs.
I think that's the issue right there. That it's the element of addiction. For example, in sales, right? When you're doing sales, the way that you know that your business is going to scale is you either get new customers or you make the customers that you have buy more or repeatedly, right? So you are assured of business. So whenever you've got a product that is addictive, you are assured, right, that customers will come back because it's they're no longer in control, right? So the reason why actually for me I brought it up was that I didn't think Malawians were dealing in cocaine, right? Like being benign, but I was like, cocaine in Malawi? No way.
There is.
Look at it. This guy is coming twice. It means that things are working. Business is booming.
I have met people who have used cocaine before and have testified that that thing is real. That thing is real. And a lot of people are using it. But then they hide. Even you can't buy cocaine just like you buy other things like sugar or what. It's something that is illegal in the first place. So a lot of people who are addicted to drugs like cocaine have to find the drug dealers, in secret, because it's sold in secrecy. So they have to find those guys, but drugs are out there.
And the fact that, I feel like by the end of the day, like I was saying, Malawi, look at, like you said, cocaine is not really, I don't think it's found easily in Africa.
You can't find it.
And the fact that this person is booming, caught the first time, deported, came back, it's a clear sign that this is a business that's actually moving.
It's a big business.
But the question is now, like you said, you had a friend who had gotten addicted to cocaine. What happened? Do you have any idea of what was the impact on his life when he started using cocaine, or was it like just great?
He lost a lot of property.
Became addicted.
He was.
So you were selling property?
He he was selling his stuff just to get high, you know.
No.
He could literally sell his phone, his property, like letting everything go just to be high. Because I even asked, how does it feel when you use those drugs? So he said, whenever you use the drug, you feel like you're in a certain world with no problems. When you're just high, you know, you're feeling like everything is okay with you. Not okay, but perfect, you know. But then the feeling, it's just for minutes, and then goes away, and then you are back to normal, and then you'll be like, no, let me do this again. Let me do this again. You end up selling your screen. Let me do this again. Your couch is gone. Let me do this again. Your car is gone. When you look at yourself after a month or two, you have nothing.
So like,
because of the addiction.
I get that, but like for lack of a better question, I don't want to rephrase this, but I will ask it as it is. Do you think people who get addicted are weak? Because basically, like you said, like if you're getting addicted to a substance, right? It means that number one, you've got a problem. Most of the time, substance abuse. Like from the example you've given, you've got a problem, and then you're trying to look for a getaway, like a getaway free card, like get away from your problems for 5 minutes, right? Like just an escape from your problems. So you find that people will look for this pleasure-seeking substance, which gives them a good feeling, a high, whereby they're no longer part of their own bodies. You know, like they're in this space whereby for like 20 hours or 5 hours or how long it's going to be, they'll not be themselves. And then they'll come back to their own lives and find their problems are still there. And they're like, my problems are still here. Cocaine.
Welcome back, cocaine.
So from that, right? Do you think they're weak?
I would say it depends on the type of addiction. Others might be weak. Others might not. It depends on the type of addiction. If you're addicted to something, let's say drugs, if you think maybe you are trying to escape mavuto enake, and then you are doing drugs for the sake of kutu kutama mavuto, in essence, you're not running away from, I can say you are weak. And there are some addictions which do not really have a big negative impact on you. All right? There are some addictions that, for instance, if you're addicted to playing games, of course there are some negative impacts, but then they're not as big as using drugs, because other addictions affect the health itself directly, and you can go real quick. And then there are some addictions to other things that are not really harmful. You get my point?
Well,
we can be addicted to something that is not really harmful to your life. And then there are some things like the drugs,
that will
smoking.
Exactly.
Your health. You can go within years.
That will shorten your life.
Exactly. So if you if you're in a situation whereby you are addicted to something that will harm your life, and you let it happen like that, then you are weak. Because addiction is a matter of losing control of your brain, and you're letting something to take control of your brain. And you have programmed yourself that I can't do this without this. I can't live without this. Just like a lot of people smoke. If you ask the people who smoke, why are you addicted to smoking? They will tell you, I can't concentrate without smoking. For them to do something sensible, they have to smoke first.
No, I get that. I had a teacher, right? Well, it was still an addiction, but the only fix was more liquor. But
and that teacher lost control.
Yeah, he did. He did probably.
That's why he got addicted to that level.
I like that. So now, how I define addiction, or maybe how we can define addiction. We can debate about it, but I would want to define addiction as something that you do, right?
Yeah.
That you can start innocently. It starts slowly, but then it hooks you, right? To a place whereby you cannot control yourself against it.
Yeah.
So even when you don't want to do it, you do it because it is the one telling you what to do. You're no longer in control. It says jump, and you ask, how high? How high?
Not why, but
how high
should I jump?
Yeah. So it has. I guess by the end of the day, it has got a negative. I think from this discussion, most of the times we just look at addiction as being negative, but there could also be some positive addictions, right?
Yeah.
You could be addicted to something that is good.
Apparently, talking about that, there's this other guy I saw on YouTube as well. Those just those random videos. Some guy was saying he's addicted to masturbation because he does not want to be involved with women.
Okay.
Because HIV and AIDS, what he has his own reasons. So he said he's addicted to masturbation. So people like that, you tend to wonder, how do you let yourself to be in that position or that situation to be addicted to it? And he was like, he masturbates maybe even 3 times a day or even 4 times.
But coming back to the same thing, like I said, for me, strictly, no offense, but even personally, when I find myself weak with an addiction, right? I would want to accept it, to say that in that moment I am weak. I'll give you an example. For example, for that situation of this guy who is giving this very nice excuse that
he doesn't want to contract diseases.
I mean, if you found a nice woman, why don't you just go to the hospital and get tested? Are you assuming that every single woman in the universe has got diseases? Most of the times when you check such scenarios or such people, you find that they don't have the courage to actually approach a woman.
Exactly.
Right? So now they're like, you know what? I'm going to create a fix. But that will have implications in the long run. Because, well, just thinking off the top of my head right now, if you're not able to actually create those meaningful interactions with a woman, because meeting a woman is not easy, right? Like you have to have the courage to do something. Clearly, there'll be also other areas of his life where he's also weak the same way, whereby he cannot ask for something, he cannot take a risk, he cannot ask for a raise at work. So you find that this could be an underlying problem. This is just manifesting in this way, but it will affect him in so many other ways, in other areas. So, man, I feel like from the previous conversations that we had, our generation, we want things very easy. We do not want to work for them. But the question is, what will be the impact of wanting things easy? Because this guy wants an easy way out. Instead of going out there, talking to a woman and actually engaging in a conversation,
of course,
doing the hard work, he prefers to just do the shortcut.
He's scared of diseases, man.
Like I said, right now I'm closing it out. I feel like people who are addicted are weak, and maybe that.
So okay, you have been addicted to something before.
Have I? I feel like I'm still even battling addictions right now.
Not only one.
Not only one. Off the top of my head, off the top of my head, I can give you an addiction that I'm battling. Let me see.
Apart from your phone, what else?
Apart from my phone, what is something that takes?
Because Steve can't live without his phone, even for like.
No, actually,
2 hours.
No, actually, I'm not a phone addict like that. Like I was having a discussion with someone to say that I am one of those people who don't mind their phone going off. And the reasons behind that was, well, it was just theory, but it was like sometimes maybe I want to disconnect from the society, so I don't mind my phone going off. The reason why I want to disconnect from society, that's a different story. I don't know why. But basically, yes, my phone is an addiction to a degree. Because I feel like every single time there is something that is making me do something that I don't want to do when I want to do it, it's controlling me. You know what I mean? It's controlling me. So if it tells me do this and I do it,
you become a slave. You're addicted to that.
You become a slave. So something that I can say that is an addiction is is food. Okay. The food that I eat. Sometimes I eat some particular food.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to create cravings in me that I want to eat again in the next 5 minutes or maybe in an hour.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, it is the thing commanding me to do that and not me wanting to say, I want to eat now. It's the food that is commanding me.
Exactly.
So basically, I think the reason why it's called an addiction is because it's got an impact in the long run. And looking at things like substance abuse, you find that it's got an impact on our health.
Yeah.
There is another addiction. Actually, there is behavior addiction.
Yeah.
Whereby you may be addicted to bad behaviors, like you said, masturbation and pornography.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, why is it so bad? You find that it's going to have an implication on your life in the long run. Yeah. So basically, those are the two things that I was actually looking at. That. Yeah, I do have my own addictions that I'm battling.
I believe that every or any normal human being is addicted to something.
What are you addicted to?
Right now?
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
Is it because of the sugar?
I don't know.
It's the sugar. So you know sugar is very addictive, right?
I know, but Coca-Cola.
You get an insulin spike. So the insulin spike, when it rises, when it's dropping, it makes you hungry again.
I can drink even 5 bottles of Coca-Cola in a day.
Perfect. So I was actually watching a documentary about, there's a city in Mexico or something like that, but it's one of those Mexican cities and countries. It's very close to America.
Yeah.
So they were talking about how Coca-Cola, averagely, like every single person they asked, they were talking about how they drink about 2 liters of Coca-Cola in a day. Right? So actually, it got to a degree whereby Coca-Cola is cheaper than water.
Wow.
Right? But the irony is, people were actually asking them, but do you understand the impact of this? And they're like, yeah, we see it. People have got diabetes. There's diabetes left, right, and center.
That's why there's Coke Diet.
no, but still, Diet Coke does not even help because it's, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of generalizing it, but by the end of the day, there's still sugars in there. As long as the sugars is controlling your sugar spikes. Yeah. So you know what, the interesting question that was asked, if you guys see that these things are causing diabetes, why didn't you stop? We can't. We're addicted.
I'm addicted to Coke.
Yes, addicted to Coca-Cola.
Yes, Coca-Cola. And of course, a lot of people have been saying a lot of things about Coca-Cola, which, for the sake of our audience, we wouldn't go that far. We don't want to be sued here that we have defamed a certain product. But I am one of the people who are addicted to Coca-Cola. That I can say. And whenever I'm having a drink, I can say I have had a drink if I have not had Coca-Cola.
But you're not the only one. Actually, I know several people who actually like, just like you. I've never seen them drink anything.
I don't like Coca-Cola. I love Coca-Cola.
Wow. Wow.
You see, so that's the thing. And I remember you said when in business, sales, whatever, other people use things that would be addictive to their target market.
Yeah.
You know, you produce your product in a way that people should always be like, dividends.
Yes.
Dividends.
Yeah.
Dividends. I should do this again. I should do this again. I should buy this again. That's how they make sales.
Yeah.
That's how they make sales. And so I believe there is something unique in Coca-Cola that makes people love Coca-Cola. That's why I'm saying I don't like Coca-Cola. I love Coca-Cola.
Wow.
That's a level. But there are a lot of products out there that are addictive. It's not only Coca-Cola, but there are a lot.
So maybe from your perspective, since we've noticed that by the end of the day, Coca-Cola may be good for you, may be bad for you. We don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't done our research.
Yeah.
But I don't think Coca-Cola is bad. It's a good drink. It's a great drink.
One of the best in the world.
Okay. Debatable.
One of the best.
Debatable.
There are a lot of good drinks out there, but Coca-Cola is one of the best drinks
I
ever.
see. I won't debate.
Yeah.
I have no facts. But in regards to addictions, we're clearly seeing that there's drug and substance abuse, which is also addictive. Because there's pleasure seeking, like you're trying to look. Most of the times, people are looking for an out. I think another element that I was actually thinking about was an element of people trying to be part of a club. What do you call that? Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. So you find that kids.
It's one of the things that is driving people. Go. That path.
Exactly. So they'll try it one time and then they're gone. Right? They find one out innocently. It was just part of a group, and now they're a drug addict. And sometimes people also talk about it. Oh no, you know what? I think better when I'm high or when I smoke weed. That does happen, but from my understanding, it's usually the percentage of people. You can use the Pareto rule. You find that only works for like 20% of the people. 80% of the people, it doesn't work. It's not for them.
Bandwagon.
Boss crash.
Bandwagon.
Mental.
You see?
And these are the mental instituted ones. Others will do the same thing. They'll go be working in a nice company. So what I was trying to lead to is we've got two types of addictions. We've got the substance abuse, and we have the behavior addictions, which is the examples you've given. It may not be substance related, but it may be an action like masturbation or pornography. How do you think someone can actually stop or mitigate an addiction?
Well, there are so many ways, but then I believe that it starts in the
brain.
If you're trying to stop a certain thing that you are used to, you should just program yourself. Try it little by little, not just but little by little. You can be like, if for instance I'm addicted to Coca-Cola, I can decide maybe per week I should just drink maybe 4 bottles. You see, if every day I drink Coca-Cola, and I can decide, okay, I should just be drinking on Monday, Wednesday, and so on. And then with time, you adjust, and then it's like you are reprogramming your brain that this behavior should now have this pattern. In the past, I've created this pattern. I'm drinking this much. Over this period, I'm drinking this much. And now I'm reducing. So it's like you are creating it can never be easy, but then you can try to do it with your mind. Another way, I don't know if it's common here in Malawi but out there in advanced countries, people have like therapies. They have therapy sessions. Tumaona abantu amapita kumalo kuna kwake akumanoka
like they call it AA
that
meetings.
Community. Yes. Hi, I'm Uncle Steve. Hi, Uncle Steve. I'm an addict. Hi, Uncle Steve, an addict. So through the interactions that they make within themselves,
they empower each other.
Mauzana hii yakula ineo panoparu diskoneka kuti moa mwina ndachepesa ndikumwano mabotolo mwakuti it's like when they are trying to encourage one another, they try to give each other alternatives. Kuti, you were used to this. Can you try this? Was a business. Just like I'm a suitor, I'm addicted to smoking. Once one go feel like you should smoke, this was a business to feel like ija janas ka what hati pali maswidi na gamina mapangisa sukuri you should so once mtu wangu zo yano zimene zijazo eventually you stop.
Precisely.
You stop.
So actually that's exactly what I wanted to actually talk about. Because for me, for starters, like you've got a daughter. I have a daughter as well.
But before you proceed, can we take a break? I need to drink Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, please do sponsor our next episode. I was talking about how we have daughters. I always think about a situation in two fronts.
Yeah.
How do you mitigate it before it becomes a problem? And if it's already a problem, how do you manage it?
Yeah.
So I'm very concerned about, you have a daughter. I also have a daughter.
Yeah, apparently we have daughters.
Daughters. We are the men who have to buy guns.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm starting slowly. I bought a taser.
Some guy is selling some AK-47. So
AK-47.
We have to visit
before
our daughters.
Actually, I've just ordered an RPG.
Oh, really?
I don't want to just AK-47 is very direct. I want to destroy. I don't want any evidence.
It's a brutal world out there for ladies.
Being a father,
we just have to,
tough.
It's
tough. But anyways,
we're just joking. We don't tolerate.
No violence here. No. I want to be sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking about my daughter in regards to the things that have to be part of her life early.
Yeah.
Because I had a thought which was leading towards we can either put our minds into a channel of good behaviors in advance, or else put our minds into a channel of bad behaviors. Like you said, whenever you're addicted, you have to replace the addiction with something else.
Yeah.
Which meant that there's a need to already put in good addictions in our children in advance at an early age before they get addicted to the wrong things. Because by the end of the day, when they're addicted to the bad things, the bad things will be running their lives. Before you know it, they're now trying to find ways of mitigating them, which makes their life, for lack of a better word, miserable.
Yeah.
Right? So let's assume, for lack of a better example, I think there was a kid from Japan or China or something. Amasuda cigarettes. Come on, baby. It was actually went viral on TikTok.
Wow.
A baby was smoking like a pack of cigarettes a day.
Wow.
Right?
That's a chain smoker.
Bro. Chain smoker is even an understatement. But the issue was, at the rate that this kid was smoking, he won't be able to even get to 10 years old because you're smoking a lot.
Yeah.
But point is, he had already been addicted to the wrong thing. For him to switch, now you're forcing this child to start battling
the addiction at that young age.
At a very young age, instead of like having been influenced to right things, so that it should be the bad things trying to attack an already existing good behavior, you know?
I believe that some of these things, like just like the example you have just mentioned, we raise our kids differently. The way you can raise a black kid here in Africa and the way a kid can be raised, let's say, in the UK or US, it's totally different.
What do you mean?
They are exposed to some things that we are not exposing our kids to. So the point is, the first thing is the exposure. We're living in different worlds. They are way advanced. So it's like the kids are exposed to a certain way of life, and then they're trying to live that kind of life. They'll be like, it's a new generation, what, and then they're adopting the new things at a very fast rate, than here. For something to come here, for instance, in our country, it takes time.
Okay.
It takes time. And another thing is the human rights. It's not wrong to allow our kids to be doing some things, but then we need to know the boundaries. All right. Literally out there, like in the US, the UK, a kid, even the size of your daughter, can tell you, don't come into my room, and you can obey that. But then here, can that happen? That means that kid has been given too much freedom to even tell his or her parents, don't come into my room. And that kid can be doing nasty things in that room and get addicted to those things without the parent noticing. While here, situ kunyoza goma magomwina mwina timagona ba sitting room kutengera ndi mina kuchutu family yatu zimavuta kuti you can do zinthu zina more private chifukwa chani the way kunoko timakhalira timaona anthu amapanga timamimu kunkolokosako where ya 18 zukani kwacha chani meaning kuti it's not kuti akunyoza kuti mwakuti but akutanthauza kuti tikukhala nyumba mafamilies athu akukhala muja mokuti we have little freedom anali ndi freedom yochepa yoti sangapange zinthu mwa private kwambiri. You see?
I see you.
But then out there, mwana tumatha kuona even in movies mwana kwauza babaki musalo kuchipinda and makolo kumachita kugogoda kai kumachita kumfusa mwana kana musalo kuchipinda kwanga and parent also.
So this is actually I like that you brought this up.
Yeah.
I was watching something on I was watching one of my daughter's shows on TV.
Yeah.
So kids, like in the story of neural pathways, kids are like a sponge. They just absorb, right?
Yeah.
So everything they see, they create an expectation of them to say this is how things are supposed to be. And so this is going to iterate in two ways.
Yeah.
The first thing is it taught me something very interesting because this show is very nice. It's called Bluey.
My daughter loves Bluey.
I love Bluey, man, because I watched it and I was like, this even tells me that I'm slacking like a dad because the Bluey character is like playing with his daughter and his children. I'm like, ish. So I knew that it's creating this expectation in my child to say, if it's happiness, this is how my father is supposed to be playing with me.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is actually great.
Yeah.
But also there's some shows and cartoons on the internet that are teaching kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll be teaching them. They can talk back to your parents, like you said, the things that are happening outside. Kids out. Us, we know we didn't teach these children these things, but you find that the kids, they see it on TV and they're like, let me try it on my parents. Now, the problem that I've also realized is there is this generational transference that happens whereby there is a generation that actually had to fight to make a living. So they had to try everything. I think this is the industrialization age. These are the guys who actually had to create money. They had to work for it.
Yeah.
And then the children grow up, they grow up, they have money now. And what do we say? Africans, Africans, I don't think white people say this, but Africans, we say, Dina Furiga, or I suffered, my child shall not.
Yeah.
So what do? We allow our children to experiment on things that are actually going to affect their lives.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's high time we ask Kuri, this thing that my child is doing, how is it going to impact them in society? I remember I was checking out Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He said that the basic idea of parenthood is so that our children are acceptable in society. You get what I mean? Like you take your child, you go with it to church. You shouldn't embarrass you.
Yeah.
You take that child, they grow up, they go to work. It should not embarrass you. You're preparing it for the future.
Yeah.
And I feel like the biggest mistake we're making right now in this generation is we're in that space of I suffered. We think everything that happened or everything we went through was bad.
Yeah.
And assume that just because, we're like, it was bad. My children, no weeping. But we do not understand what is the impact of this on our children.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the day, in a few years, we'll have a generation that cannot be presented in society. For lack of a better word, I went to a party, bro.
Yeah.
I went to a party and there were kids and I could see that kids are doing different things. Other kids were wrestling there. Other kids were doing backflips there. And I'm like, this is exposure.
Yeah.
We're not These are the things that embarrass you as a parent to say,
Yes, yeah.
We are
raising an undertaker. So it's like mungangatiana kunyumba sifeo mwana mukhala kone ajina Bluey or ajina Swatchback or what. Because we do zimene zijazo timonotiza level yake. If she's addicted to zimene zijazo, it's okay pa level yake chifukwa chakuti we believe kuti mwana whatever she watches or whatever he watches gets into her psychoanalysis.
Okay.
You know? And then mwana jama panga mimiki zinthu zimene zijazo.
It becomes their reality.
You see now. So pali mashows kuti perspective ya nayo ene kuti not kuti mwakuti koma kumachita regretted zimene ana wakuonera pena pake chifukwa ana jama addicted to zinthu zija and then eventually amapezeka zoti akusatizira zinthu zimene zichazo. Ineyo nthawi zambiri ndikakhala kuti ndikuonera paja ndinakuza ndikale zimene ndimakonda kuonera UFC moti lero nonso iliko usiku UFC, wrestling, what ine ndimakonda za violence zoncho zimene zimazisangalatsa. Ndikakhala ndikuonera zimene ziza make sure kuti mwana ayenda mwikira zake. But then now ndachita observe kuti nthawi zambiri ndikakhala ndikuonera wrestling iyo jakakhala kuti akuonera nawo. Ndinaona siku lake ndazanyamula ndammenyesa pa mpando. And then we started tapping 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm aware now.
Yeah, so it's Maloa now.
1, 2, 3, yeah.
So in the morning, I got to do that.
So I was like, whenever I point Yodi, you know, every night, the WWE superstar Panopa Akamabwera see and Tama LA9, yeah. Panopa, the moment I just say LA9, I want you to put it yeah. Meaning Kuti, she is. She's getting that information. Zimene amakhala mwina akumaonera nawo nthawi zina. And then zimene zijazo sitingadabwe munthu zamve kuti mwana uja wamba wrestling kuti ku school. Chifukwa chani?
It is normalized at home.
So it's like zimafunika ndithu sometimes we have to regulate.
No, actually on the same thing, like I had a similar situation with my own daughter. So for lack of a better word, we are becoming parenting is not easy. Children are annoying.
They are.
Man, like how do you play with this thing for like 2 hours straight? Boss. How do you have 5 children? But anyways, like I realize that most of right now, I think our generation is kind of in trouble because we have a certified okay to say you know, one thing I realized about children want to be involved. They want to be doing what you're doing because they'll learn from us. And now parents, because now our problem parents is that we're not actually engaging in things that kids can also engage in. Because I think back in the day, if we look back in time, fathers will sit down, maybe read the newspaper, and then after that, they'll find something productive to do. Maybe they'll fix something in the house. The child will be there mimicking, if it's a daughter, let me cook with my mom. If it's a son, you know? So I feel like you created that element of engagement whereby you're actually participating in something together. But the problem with our generation as parents is that we are also glued to our phones. So
you know why? Social media.
It's the same thing. Like we are addicted also. And you know the irony. I've got a very interesting pun for you, hey? So we're glued to our phones. How do I fix our child who wants to be in our space, to be doing something with us? We say, you know what? Get a phone. So you're on your phone, they're on their phone, and we're saying we're spending time together. And it was very sad the other day when I sat down. I think I went to see my parents, and everybody was like on their phones,
busy.
Everybody's like swiping, and I'm like, guys, I literally said, guys, we are not together. Like, we are not actually creating a meaningful moment. So one of these days when I had the chance with my daughter, what I did was, she came to me and she was like, I'm bored, right? I was like, me too. Then she was like, what do we do? I was like, let's go for a walk, right? And we went out and we walked for like about 2 kilometers. And then on the way, she was telling me stories, telling me what's happening at school, telling me about her life. After that, we were picking up flowers for her mom. And you know, when I got home, I was actually very happy. I was like, this was a meaningful moment.
And you spent time with her. She told you, you talked, and
if I disappear today, these are the memories that my child will have of her father. Not that we were sitting next to each other, everybody on their phone. So now, the pun that I had was, I feel like the biggest mistake that parents have is that we expect our children to be great individuals in society, but we forget that they copy us. We expect our children to be reading a book a day, or to be reading a newspaper, or watching current affairs, when you don't. How do you expect your child to do that? You remember Magula Tagala and Karayan?
I just say my parents hang my damn.
And kind of, but that's the thing. Those things, we want to see that from our parents because we are, as children, I think we are learning from the parents. We're a sponge trying to see how do we live our lives, and everything that we're doing is what will be the foundation for our children's lives. So if you want your child to be reading a book every day, sometimes you have to pick that book and read. And your child will be like, okay, my dad reads or my mom reads.
And then they'll copy that particular behavior and then they get addicted to that particular. If you know that is good.
Exactly.
So that's how it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Rather than if a household pamachitika zinthu zopoira zokhazoka and munthu apezeke zoti mwana akukula pa environment yotere icha. You wouldn't be surprised kuona zoti mwana uja kupanga zopoira. You'll be like, you can't blame mwana uja chifukwa that's what happens kunyumba yako. So pali ma behavior ena kuti anthu amatokhala nawo addicted kuchokera kumwana chifukwa cha external factor ngati anthu amene amuzungulira, especially the parents, chifukwa they are the greatest teachers pamoyo wa munthu.
They are the role models actually.
Exactly. So addiction imatha kuyambiranso munthu ende uli mwana, but that one can be controlled depending on anthu amene ali around it. Komano addiction ya munthu wamkulu imene makhala yoopsa kwambiri
because imakhala yazikika.
Chifukwa ukakhala nokuti you lose control kwambiri ndiziyo mapezeka munthu azipha. Addiction ya chinthu china chake, apparently there's some guy was addicted to making bombs and he was just making bombs and killing people anyhow. Have you ever heard the story of Kaczynski?
Kaczynski, no. What happened with Kaczynski? Who is Kaczynski?
Kaczynski was just making bombs. He's a scientist. He's in prison right now. He got addicted. Kuti amangu kanwanzeru kwambiri kana basi just addicted to making bombs. Basi angupita ngati pa Shoprite pa shopping mall kangusiya bomb as a bomb police and then ave mari pa fund 7 and then abangere code this is not enough. At least I should improve it. Ipe anthu ambiri. So he got addicted.
No, that's a psychopath a little bit.
Kaczynski.
He's a psychopath, man.
He is. So kazo addiction ina mapezeka zoti kuonesa kuti munthu wamisana zochitika zake. Zinthu zake zali na Kaczynski. So addiction ya munthu wankulu imakhala yoopsa, but then njira zimene kamba ziziwizi. I would try to control it with your mind. Behavior ichi pang'ono kuyesa kumayisintha. If therapy works, if you have the capability to go for therapy, go for it. Otherwise, the issue yovuta adi kuti munthu if you're addicted, especially ukakauti you're addicted ku chinthu yoti chitha kukupha mosavuta. It's a challenge kwambiri. It's a challenge kwambiri. And you then the funny thing is pack ya cigar majira ulemba pompo. Smoking is hazardous. It can kill. It kills. It actually you still kills. Buy it.
Not it can. It kills.
And then you still buy it. Ikatha pali genuine ukagulanso ina ukawerenganso ikukuza zomwezo. So imagine munthu azipezeka zoti you are smoking mauji na mena jao mwina 5 or 6 per week. How do you think your liver looks like, or the lungs or whatever is affected by the smoke inside you? You see, so it's something that people need to work on, especially on these social medias. When you timagambaze social media yafika point ijokuti I'm not a TikTok person, but the way I look at things right now, a lot of people are addicted to TikTok.
We are.
You're one of them.
Oh yeah, I'm a swiper.
TikTok. First of all, I just know the concept of TikTok. I just know how it works, but I don't think I've ever used TikTok before.
No, TikTok is actually very
the only time I use TikTok inalioti ndigafuna ma videos ya Slap Fight Championship. Ndona anthu amenya na makofi ajet. I just go over TikTok. I just get that video kuti ningoona, but not necessarily kuti mpaka na kufika point yoti people living kuti I can't do without TikTok. No. And I don't know. Mpaka lazima fika when you got addiction TikTok in the first place.
So ideally, TikTok is addictive because, well, it's part of social media, and it's attention span. Panova, who have got a very short attention span. We want things quickly.
Yeah.
And TikTok fits into that perfectly. Because one, it's short videos. Two, it's you know how like
it's easy to get famous on TikTok.
No, actually, so the cue is like when you look at it, it's when you look at addiction, they say that it's a dopamine inducing activity. It makes you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
So whenever you swipe, you feel like you're doing something, like you're rewarding yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, TikTok is actually very addictive. So I was reading one of these books. I think it's in regards to Atomic Habits, and it was talking about how someone can actually break a bad habit. And it's something that has helped me. I've practiced it before.
Yeah.
Ideally, what it said was, whenever you're about to initiate a bad habit, there is a cue. There's usually a trigger. There is something that you see that goes like, I don't want to do this, and then the bad habit becomes the alternative, right? So for instance, let's say I don't want to make some particular decision, or I don't want to clean my kitchen, and that's a cue. Like there is a cue. There's something that triggers, and then you run towards the addiction, right? So the idea was that you need to understand your cues. To say, oh, this is the thing that makes me do this. So you break the cycle. Ideally, you're breaking the cycle to the addiction. And something that I've actually greatly understood is that addictions, they don't leave you. You just replace them. So they'll like,
always be there.
They're there. So I consider it as, like we said, a behavior. It's better to write the right code in the beginning rather than a bad one, because you don't want to be going back to a bad behavior as your baseline, as this is who I am. So I think I'm iterating it from number one. Even as adults, it's very important to understand some of the things we're putting ourselves into, because but we need to understand what is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact it? How is it going to impact me? Because over time, you have to replace it, because it's just going to be there waiting for you, for that cue. And then when you can't beat that cue, it's like, hey, I'm back.
Welcome.
So
bienvenido.
So you need to understand your cues so that you break the loop. But like I said, it means that the bad behavior is just lying dormant. You've just created a new path to something else. So ideally, basically, Amadi, you cannot replace you cannot remove a bad behavior. You just replace it with something else. In the example of smoking, you pop a sweet or something. It's a new path, which is trying to keep this other side very dormant.
But also when you want to do that, you also need to have the determination, because without the determination, you can't change. Right? You can't just have a feeling of, hey, and then you just think of kungoja sweet or what if your mind is not also...
Change is not an easy thing. Like you said, it's very painful. Actually, this was a thought that I actually wanted to bring up earlier was, have you ever watched like one in the movies when someone is trying to stop an addiction? It's painful.
It is.
It's a very painful process. So I've realized that change is not easy. And I applaud people who actually break a bad habit. Because it means that they had to go through a very hard and painful transition. My aunt works in the hospital space. And we're talking about we're getting addicted to the food we eat. Because it creates a loop. And it's very sad. Our staple food, for example, is nsima. But nsima as a carb, it spikes up our insulin in our blood. So when it spikes up the insulin in the blood, it crash. It creates a craving. Now, imagine that we are like an addicted society from the get-go.
Food is food.
So imagine that level whereby we've been addicted from the get-go, So it's a dangerous space, but so we need to mitigate it from
at all costs. People need to know, first of all, what the addiction on your done, and then I just assess the impact ya addiction yekuti kwenikweni ndiyo tani pa moyo wake munthu and then you find the necessary measures to get rid of that addiction. Otherwise, hey, if you addiction yama video games and inata je further concern aboira, so yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
So
no, it was the same thing. So like even when we were talking with my aunt, we said kuti, imagine how hard it is kuti muntu wabeza tisuna jensima for like a day or two. I've tried it before. Because it's an addiction. That's how you know kuti whenever you're trying to break an addiction, it's a painful process because it forces you back to say, it's like you're trying to rewrite your code to say, I want to write a new code here. I want to
break it.
Yes. So it becomes a painful thing. Yeah. So for me, I would say it's best not to go through that pain because there's a likelihood you may not be able to break it because it's so hard and painful. So my advice is not even initiate it in the first place. Sometimes it's good to learn from other people to see how that particular thing you're about to engage in. And there's so much information nowadays. How does it impact your life? Is it a positive thing? Is it a negative thing? Does it really help you in the long run?
So, I'll give you example. We all know DMX.
Yeah.
DMX was addicted to what?
What was he addicted to?
Drugs.
Y'all gonna make me lose my mind.
Up in here. And how did he die?
Up in here. Sorry.
Drug overdose.
Up in here.
X gonna give it to you. So DMX died because of drugs.
Yeah.
He was addicted to drugs.
Wait,
and then I think cocaine.
The same thing,
Yeah. So he died. And then he could rally my awards. I think he beat awards and I wala kuti specific another. A certain actor and was famous. His name was Michael. He acted kungati DMX kuma awards kuja.
Okay.
Paying tribute kwa DMX.
Yeah.
I think a year later he also died. Drug overdose.
Serious.
So what did you learn from DMX?
What did you learn from DMX?
You tell me.
So basically you're saying that he
knew how DMX died.
And
then he also knew he was on drugs. And he died. A drug overdose as well. A year later. Go look it up, you'll find the story on the internet.
That's sad.
So the point is, we don't want to learn from others. We don't. How many people out there have died because of drugs? Drug overdose. How many? And how many celebrity?
That's a lot.
You find that each and every year, a certain celebrity is dying because of drug overdose. It's happening. Are they learning?
All right, man. So like in a nutshell, can you just I think we've talked about addictions and how they can be both positive and negative addictions. And the impacts of having negative addictions coming early in your life. And I think, could you just come again on some of the ways that we can, when we have realized I have an addiction, and you've done your research, you understand the impact of your addiction. Sometimes it's very good to be informed by doing research and understanding that this addiction that I cannot control, it's controlling me. How will it affect me in future? So just iterate again on how you can manage an addiction. How do you manage addiction?
First of all, you need to know the type of addiction that you have, and then you need to assess it in terms of the impact it has on you. Kuti chintu chimene ndili addicted to kweni impact yake ndio ndani kwa ineyo. Okay, so after that uone njira ina yoti upange set your mind kuti chintu chindifuna ntatani nditasintha nditachisiya kapena ndisiye the way I do it. And after you set your mind kuti upange chani, and you can also find an alternative. kuti ngati ndimakonda chakuti, let me also try chakuti. Chipange substitute, but not get addicted to that as well. No. Chikuthandize chinthu chicha kuti ichi use kuchikonda not to the point yoti chizikhala kuchikupanga control. So for basically takamba kale kuti addiction ndi kuti you lose control, kuti something is actually telling you kuti panga chakuti. Panga chakuti. So chinthu chimene chacho kakoma ndikendikeja kazango choka. Then you're good. You're good. Chifukwa kumale kunoko ma therapy sali common. Kuna chilungamo iti. So it's a matter of trying to train yourself. You can talk to anthu ena amene umachita trust kuti basi aonese kuti atakuthandiza motani. You can talk to them, akuze ma alternative ena amene ungakhale nawo kuti chakuti ineso I was going through the same. You never know, so somebody had the same problem. Atakupasa solution it. Ine ndapanga zakuti kuti ndithane ndi zakuti. So it's good to share.
That's right. And actually, for me, I think it's just an addition to what you've said. Number one, like I said, I always respect the words that say that if you walk 1,000 miles in my shoes, you probably do the same thing. I have come to learn not to judge what people do. Because it's not always very easy to make that decision. Number one, I've come to the realization that it's very important to understand the cues. Most of the times people are going through a problem, and that problem becomes the cue for why they'll do the bad behavior. So it's very important to understand the cues. It could be a problem that you're not fixing in your life. It could be company, it could be friends, it could be, because that's a cue as well. When I meet these people, I do this bad behavior. That is also a cue, right? What is the trigger that makes you do the bad behavior? And when you find it, you either fix it or you cut it off. You remove that entity that is causing you to do that particular deed. And like you said, we don't really have those support forums. I'm not really sure. But if you guys know about this, if there are forums and spaces where people can go to and share their stories about addiction, if there's a physical space that people go to, please do share in the comment space so that we can also teach other people.
That's important.
But even for our page, if you've got addiction problems, you've got an issue, you've got a problem, do comment, raise your issue, let's discuss it, and we'll find a way to actually help you and maybe link you to someone who can actually help you better.
Apparently, I know one guy, he was addicted to smoking. Apparently, he started, he stopped, and then therapy.
I think the AA needs help because, like you said, when you're in a grouping of people who are thinking the same, you strengthen each other. I think that's the whole basis of this, to say we're all weak here, but let's keep on strengthening each other. Like I said, addiction is so hard that people have to come together and tell each other, guys, hey, I wanted to do it again, but I'm here to tell you guys I'm fighting still. And people have to go through that. And they say that it takes 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours to build up a habit. Probably may also take the same amount of time to break one. So being in a grouping of people that may create or stimulate the new disciplines or new behavior may be very good also, because it'll be able to strengthen you, right, like, as you're on this journey.
Straight up.
So I feel like I said, developing the cues early is very important for someone who's already addicted. And for our children and the ones that are young, I think as parents, we need to be very aware and observant. Like I like the fact that you said Africa or Malawi is, we're a few steps behind.
Not few steps, man.
Like, okay, fine.
Centuries behind.
No. In my respect, I feel like we're civilized. We are our own version of civilization. You know, the problem is we're trying to play the game on the same playing field. But I believe we have the most advanced thatched houses.
Uncle Steve.
See time? Never mind. So anyways. So like you said, we are paces behind where the developed societies are. It's very important to also, like you said, appreciate what is the impact of the things we think is right now we call it like modern.
Yeah.
What is the impact of this modern society we're trying to build?
Yeah.
And maybe see how that has impacted the developed economies.
Yeah,
and try to not make the same mistakes.
We don't have to replicate them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure, man. Anything else that you want to say before we close?
No, man. I appreciate for the time. I'm humbled to be here, and it's always nice to be here and share the ideas and the views and the opinions that we have by Maisha Zose Nasiana.
Nah, man, I always appreciate you here.
You should come on my podcast now.
Definitely.
There's something that we need to talk about on the podcast. So you coming to Real Issues.
Real Issues, I will be there. I'll be there whenever. I'm just waiting for the invite and the topic.
Just check your email by tomorrow.
I'll do that, man. I'll do that. All right. So we thank you so much for being there. This has been a very intriguing discussion. We do not really have all the facts, but this is our discussion. But we also want to hear from you. What are your thoughts in regards to addiction? Have you battled addiction before? How did you break your addiction? What do you see that could be issues that we are downplaying that are actually going to affect our society, that is going to come, our children, even the teens now, the Gen Zs, the millennials? What are we looking at with a benign view, but will affect us in future? So we want to hear from you. Drop your views, your comments in our comment section.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe.
Like, we want to hear from you as well. So you've been with me, Uncle Steve,
the Punisher.
You've been great. Bye.
Thanks.